Welcome back to the Coffee Chat. Today's conversation is for anyone that feels like they're doing everything right, applying to jobs, updating their resume, posting on LinkedIn, but you're still not getting the answer. The truth really is the job market is changing now. And today's conversation is going to be one of those ones that are going to give you some skills and some resources on how to best present yourself in today's job market. Okay, so today we're breaking all of those things down and we're giving you some tips and resources on how to break into this new job market. I'm super excited for this conversation today. My guest is the esteemed Jared.
Yes.
Welcome to the Coffee Chat.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited for this conversation. So I know that you have a background that's really in line with what my audience is looking for, but I really want you to start at the beginning, right? Like you said, you've been in the tech industry since 2006. Let's start there. Like, how did the industry look at that time?
Yeah, so it was really it's really about the big companies at the time, like IBM, Microsoft, HP, Dell, EMC, et cetera. But the startup space was actually like really thriving and emerging back then. But when it comes to like the space itself, it really wasn't mainstream in terms of, our community knowing much about it. I honestly didn't really know too much about the software side of things that IBM did, but I ran into them at a career expo. They told me how software sales is a very lucrative space. And I was lucky enough to, talk my way into getting a job there at 23 years old and moving to New York City. So my story is a little bit more unorthodox. It's probably not too relatable now, but basically like it was and it still is a space where you can make a ton of money, but it was a good old boys club.
Okay.
And so for me, 20 years or maybe more 15 years later after that, it was exciting to kind of just change the landscape, in terms of the things that I was doing.
You're doing a lot of things in the tech space, but when we talk about when you first started, what was the hardest part about your transition or breaking into the good old boys club?
I would just say, honestly, I wouldn't say it was a challenge, but it was just something I had to be intentional about, which is like really warming against my teammates. So I'm 23. I have a lot of energy. I just came from a space where it was like hardcore door to door. So I took that door to door mentality and I brought it to IBM. The thing that I would recommend to people that I did when I started off at IBM is I asked my manager, who is the most successful person on the team? And in tech sales, the most successful person is who has sold the most and made the most money. That's ultimately what we're being judged on. So I, took them out to lunch and said, hey, what are some things I could do to accelerate my path to where you're at and maybe minimize some of the things that were mistakes for you. And he gave me the breakdown, but I led with value. Like I'm the one that's like coming out of college, I'm getting him steak and the best wine because I want him to just like divulge the information, build rapport. And then I basically took his approach, executed it, and was one of the top reps.
Wow.
So like finding mentorship at the role early is super important because you just want to repeat the steps that were successful for somebody else. I try to keep it that simple, and I do that at every company that I go to, but I make sure that I take care of them and I give them the credit when I have success. Like when I would close a big deal, I was like, thank you to my mentor, Michael Grassi. The dinner that we had when I first started, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for your guidance. And that elevates his status if he wants to be manager or do other things within the org. So it's also political. Like you got to take care of everybody that takes care of you. So in software sales, I have my SDR that schedules the meetings. I have the sales engineer that does the demos for me. Legal helps me negotiate the contracts. There's all these type of people that touch the deal, kind of quarterbacking opportunities and executing, game plans. And when the deal closes, I have to make sure the whole team is acknowledged. And that's another thing that I would say is like when you get into a tech company and you're in, one, give mentorship and guidance on how to overperform. And then two, when you do perform, give everybody that touched it credit if possible. And then three, like always be curious about how can you get better at serving your customers, at being a good teammate, as being a good employee to your management team, like giving the visibility or the deliverables that make them look good. My success in my tech career came from the mindset of I'm going to make every customer look good. I'm going to make every person I touch feel good, look good, because it's a very small space, even though it seems super vast. You're on LinkedIn, everybody can see your connection. They're not going to tell you they're reaching out to, your former manager from
Right.
2 jobs ago, because they don't want you to be able to, interfere. They go straight to them and say, hey, what was it like working with Jared? So my thing is, I want every person that could ever be reached out to be able to say something good about their experience with me. And, the whole like breaking into tech and all that stuff, it's definitely, there's strategies to do that. And I'll definitely talk about that. But it's also important to think about what's the mindset to not just keep a job in tech, but be in demand. And if we think about that more, even before going into the interview and getting the first job, if you have that mentality just out the gate, like I'm coming into tech to impact these type of teams, to create this type of change, this type of result.
But what does being in demand look like? Like, how can somebody position themselves as somebody who's in demand, whether they're breaking into tech or already in the field?
Well, I would say, number one, hopefully you have people that can vouch for you.
Okay.
And that are
Human capital.
Yeah. And I would say if you have people that are willing to put their name out there for you, then write up a recommendation on LinkedIn and send it to them and say, hey, this is a recommendation that I think would really help me in the job market. Would you be willing to submit that to LinkedIn? And feel free to rewrite this in your language or add or subtract anything, whatever. Having those recommendations on your LinkedIn is cool. It's important. But in terms of like being in demand, I can mainly talk about software sales because that's the position I was in.
Sure.
But yeah, I never applied for a job in my 20 years in software sales. I used to have an inbox full of recruiters being like, hey, are you interested in this? Are you interested in that? How I was able to create that is just by putting in my honors and awards. Like even if you go to my LinkedIn now, if you go to my honors and awards, you'll see all my honors and awards from my internships in college all the way to today. So that's where you can show off in software sales. Number 3 in the country and, did 5% of quota, or I'm part of the $1 million club or whatever. So you can kind of show that. And so it's about search engine optimization. So like in my about section, I list off all the keywords so that if recruiters are searching, they find me.
Okay.
But the honors and awards, and then in each section of the jobs in my experience, like highlight, like,
your accomplishments,
like little bullets of the honors and awards. So I would say that. And then in modern day, if you're on conference stages, if you're on podcasts, or if you're creating content, and you can basically kind of just highlight your subject matter expertise, that'll also help you become a little bit more in demand as well.
Okay. So using LinkedIn as a way, like a pipeline, essentially, to build your brand or your reputation or to get recruiters or others to start to see your value.
Yeah. LinkedIn back then was a much different, environment than it is now. But I would say now LinkedIn's good, but I would say like actually being outside and being in the rooms with the decision makers, like that's the key way to actually break through and get a role. I used to be able to, DEI was more present. AI wasn't taking away entry-level jobs and the layoffs weren't as aggressive as they were before. I have recruiters being like, hey, I need Black talent. And I would just send them people in my network and everybody's getting jobs. Yeah. Back then, 2021, it was a much different and easier way to get people into jobs. Now for me, like in order if somebody was like, yo, Jared, I need a job in tech, I'd be like, all right, cool. Here are all the conferences that I'm going to be at. Try to pull up on me, and then I can walk you around and introduce you to people. Like that's the real way to actually get into the space now is to, one, be extremely curious and get deep into whatever subject that you're going to get deep in and get deep from a perspective of I want to be the best at this role in the market. If you have that mentality and you execute in that kind of way, then you will ultimately become in demand. People will start talking about you, et cetera. And if you can talk about it on a podcast or on a stage about how you got there and how you're a badass, it's going to help you get more in demand.
I know you spent a lot of your career in enterprise sales. So you really understand like how decisions get made, what that process looks like. How similar is getting a job to closing a deal?
It's pretty similar. Like ultimately, the first step is to get the attention of the decision maker or the gatekeeper in some cases, which is going to be like the sourcing person or the recruiter, to then get you to the hiring manager. So in sales, it's all about doing research. So if I reach out to you and I know your business inside and out and I have a solution and I've done this solution for other companies and they've seen success, there's going to be an interest there. Similarly, hey, I did this research on your organization. I think I'd be a great fit. I came from Google and I did very good things there. And I was at Microsoft. I did similar things. References of success are key. And then when you have the conversation, it's just in sales, it's about building rapport, but it's building rapport by, really showing that you care. And people, when they're hiring, can see who actually cares about the company, cares about the customer, cares about the impact that this role could have versus somebody that just really wants a job because they've been unemployed and they just need something. Having the energy where you show you genuinely do care, and how you show that is through research. Yeah, I was looking at the case studies and I'm really excited about how I could do X, Y, and Z.
Do you feel like it's skills versus relationships?
I think relationships greater than skills at this point. And that's why I'm huge on actually building real life relationships. Skills, though, can make a manager. Skills can make up for you not having relationships, but relationships can make up for you not having skills.
Okay, I get you. I feel so, just to kind of like touch on that. So because I'm always like in this debate about what gets you more leverage, right? Like if you have a really great resume, you are going to get in the door. I feel like relationship building, and that was something that I recognized when I was in the interview process, relationship building was important, right? To make you one of those people that they wanted to call back. But ultimately, I do feel like skills help me close the deal, right? Like I do think that it kind of is a toss up. If you have a relationship within the network, because the company that I'm at now, I had a relationship, right? Or I did some of those things that you discussed. Like I researched the company, I reached out to someone on LinkedIn, like I built a rapport with that person, like, hey, and I didn't just stop with like, hey, can you give me a referral? I'm like, can you give me a referral and introduce me to the recruiter and the hiring manager? Like find out who those people are. And that way my relationship kind of connected throughout that. Whereas other people may have had more skills than I did. But when I got into the interview process, it was like, I feel like initially I won them over with my personality, but my skills, because I'm a solution consultant, had to shine as well. Like it was like that is what sealed the deal for them.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, be really good at what you do, as basic as that sounds, but also like be excited about what you do. They can tell that. It's really hiring to them it's like who is the least riskiest or has the best probability of making my job easier and making me look good. Whatever it is that making your job easier could be being likable. If they like you, that's helpful. And then the other thing though is, can they make you look good? And skills is the thing that's going to make somebody look good, not because they're funny or they're nice. Or a good time. It's going to be like, can they deliver?
They can do this.
Yeah. It's really about trusting. Can they deliver? If you have skills, then you more than likely can. But if somebody that's likable and somebody that's not likable with equal skills, likable person wins every time.
So what do you feel like people are doing wrong right now?
I think what people are doing wrong right now is they're focusing on getting certifications just to make money.
Okay.
And they don't really actually like what they're particularly doing. They're just trying to do it just to get the job. And then they are throwing their resumes into the abyss, which is LinkedIn and Indeed, against hundreds of other applicants that have souped up AI enhanced resumes. You got automation, basically, where you can click a button and apply to 50 jobs, logging up the whole pipeline of resumes. You got all the entry-level jobs going away. You have all the empty roles that are posted just for, they have to, but they're hiring internally. They're hiring somebody they met at a conference, or they're hiring somebody that they're introduced to via their network. So what people are doing wrong is they're thinking that getting certifications and throwing your resume at LinkedIn or Indeed is going to get you the job, where it's really going to be more so about getting certifications are important, but getting outside and getting into environments where hiring managers and decision makers are. And it's not necessarily going to be just about the career expos where like they have booths. It's going to be about just talking to people that are just in these different rooms, and not just the Black Tech conference rooms, but like all spaces, the CESs, Human X's, the AI4s, the AI conference, NVIDIA GTC, stuff like that. You got to be outside. And, that's why for me, I created the Big Stage Energy community, because we need to have the ability to get outside in a very frictionless way, but also to have guidance around like which conference is going to have the decision makers that are going to get you to the goal. Because it's not just about going to conferences, it's about getting in front of decision makers. So it's, whether it's an event or this or that, but conferences, it's like you can go down the speaker roster, you can go through the sponsor roster and have a really good idea of who's going to be there, so that you can be in that section. And then lastly, what I'm trying to show people and teach people is what networking, stop asking people, what do you do? Because it comes off as I'm trying to qualify if you're important enough to talk to, what can I get from you, whatever. And everybody asks that question, you're not original. And it gets annoying having to explain, hey, I'm a solution consultant. Yeah. It's just like repetitive. So start going up to people at these events, the VPs, the CMOs, it doesn't matter, and go up to them and say, what are you passionate about these days? And is there any way I can support that? And so what it does is it sets you apart, because nobody's asking these high level individuals that have all this power how they can be supported. So you're a breath of fresh air. Or what are you passionate about? What that does is it doesn't make it just about their job, and they could talk about anything. Like, I'm really passionate about mental health, and so I have this blog, whatever it is. And what it does also is it increases the chance that they'll actually make a more follow-up connection with you in the future, because you're not somebody that's like needy.
It's an impact.
No. And then, but more importantly, they'll probably respond, well, like, what are you passionate about? How can I support? And that's where you can organically say, well, you know what, I'm really passionate about cybersecurity. I just got my XYZ certification, and I'm really here right now to just meet individuals that may be able to refer me to opportunities, et cetera. And you may know that this person is the CISO at whatever, but, you just kind of want some chill stuff, and they're like, oh, well, shit, I'm the CISO, like, take my information, blah, blah, blah. And it takes away the nervousness out of going up to people.
That's a big thing, right? I want to walk back two things that you said. So first, one of the things that I heard from you is that people aren't really positioning themselves well. Like, they are just grabbing certifications and just throwing them out in the job market, and not really intentionally like trying to go out and hunt for those opportunities. Like, if you're going to invest in a certification, you should be invested enough to go in person and try to find those opportunities. And then you also talked about Big Stage Energy, kind of like grazed over that a little bit. So I want you to tell us what Big Stage Energy is, and then what you guys empower people to do.
Yeah, so Big Stage Energy is a community where we have resources focused on getting jobs, getting investments for your startup, getting podcast appearances, conference appearances, on stage to speak. Okay. Cool. As well as just expanding your network. And so how we do this is we partner with 70 plus conferences, and we drop free tickets every Tuesday to different conferences with different topics, but we also highlight exactly what conferences are going to be good for what reasons. And we sometimes, if possible, bring in the conference organizer to talk about, hey, here's the speaker application, here's the things that we're looking for. Or we'll have recruiters that'll say, hey, we'll be at this conference and here's what we're hiring for. So that by the time that you get to the conference, you know exactly what the opportunity really is. Ideally, in the future, we're going to have, like, say, Black Men in Tech as a conference, and we'll have, 3 companies come in, do like a private Google Meet saying, here are the roles we're hiring for. And our members can be like, hey, well, I would like to apply for this role. They can actually have conversations by the time they get to the conference. It's like the second or third round interview type vibe.
Wow.
So that's kind of like where we're headed. But ultimately, me and Ty, my co-founder, we have a really big network. So our goal really is just to help people get to that next level in their careers. And we do that through conferences. And that's what it is on a high level. It's hosted in the school community, and $4.99 for 12 months. You get access to like $10,000 worth of conference tickets.
Wow.
Yeah, some of these conference tickets are pretty expensive, like $2,000, et cetera. We launched it around November, so it's relatively new, but we've dropped probably like 30 conference tickets in like 3 months, which is kind of nuts.
But you're already partnering with 70 conferences in a few months. That shows your reach in your network. So how did you even get started with the conference space, right? Because to do that, to have that idea right, that means that you were speaking or you've been attending conferences. I know you've been in tech sales, so that's probably been a part of your journey. Just give me a little background on that.
Yeah, so I never had a real social media presence going into like 2020. And then...
You got on TikTok and started dancing?
Nah, I didn't start dancing. So my friend told me about this app called Clubhouse, and it's a social audio app. And
Clubhouse was big in COVID.
Right, exactly. It was like 2020, October, I got invited. And honestly, I was just there to listen in on like music industry conversations because, I was doing some of that stuff on the side. And I saw this room called Blacks in Technology, and it was like 200, 300 Black people on this audio room talking about tech. And I was just like, oh, this is cool. So I like added some, info in my bio and raised my hand, and they let me on stage. And I was like, hey, want everybody to know about software sales. And then I started sharing, and just got a huge reaction. I looked at my phone. I gained like 200 followers from that.
Oh, wow.
What I'd shared, and did a room the next day. Went for like 8 hours. Long story short, I went from like 80 followers to 30,000 in 2 months on Clubhouse.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was like November 2020 to February 2021, like in the thick of the peak. And during the peak, there were so many like celebrities and so many business gurus, fake and real. So made a lot of huge connections there. So I actually left my job during that time.
Oh, wow.
Because I was just so on Clubhouse so much. And I was like, let me see how I can monetize this. Because, I was confident I could get a job wherever I wanted. What happened was I started hosting recruiter rooms because basically I got, once I got to 30,000, my DMs were insane. Like people were getting mad at me. I wasn't answering my DMs about jobs. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to put all the recruiters on a stage and they can tell you about the roles and cut out the middleman. And so Google, Microsoft, LinkedIn, TikTok, Netflix, you name it, every top small company that was doing a tech tech roles was up there. This one, George Floyd, just happened. So, my guilt was,
your stock was high when that was when the DEI investment went triple platinum.
And I wasn't charging the recruiters.
Wow.
Yeah, they were just, because I was really just trying to help Black people get jobs. I didn't care. You know what I mean? I had a job, or I did. And so,
that was like the Great Migration. We all came in to take it.
That room literally got like 400 plus Black people jobs in tech, like no BS. So to answer your question, why I brought all that up is when I got to about 50,000 followers, Afrotech reached out. They were like, hey, we want you to host spaces on Clubhouse about Afrotech and we'll pay you for it. And so when I started doing that, and then we moved to Twitter Spaces, and then eventually I started my podcast, Big Tech Energy. All the conferences were reaching out for me to kind of do the same thing.
So you created your demand.
Yeah, I built a community that was really hungry for tech resources, et cetera. And so wherever I pointed them, they typically would go. And because they knew if I recommended it, it was because it's good. And so, yeah, that's when I started getting a lot of speaking engagements, helping people get sponsors. Because, I was working with the talent acquisition teams of all the major. Right. So they would basically be like, hey, Jared, what should we put our budget? I'm like, okay, who's your target? We're looking for engineers. Okay, go to Render. Or we're looking for, more women candidates. Go to BaddieCon. Or assistants in sales if you're looking for tech sales, or Black Women Talk Tech if you're looking for like startup ecosystem. So like I knew the lay of the land of all the organizations. And for the last 5 years, I've been throwing them all sorts of sponsors and all sorts of opportunities to connect, that I just have the relationships to where if I call them, I'm like, hey, put, Crystal on stage, they'll probably do it.
Wow.
The same thing with podcasters, like I've added value to them. So if I'm like, hey, can you put Crystal on your podcast? They usually do it as well. But we're really good at getting conferences sponsors. And so in exchange for the sponsors, we get them, they just give us free tickets. And that's how we're able to make sure that our community has access. Even in some cases where like we can't get 100 tickets, thankfully have a good enough audience to where I can get media passes and get, 2 or 3 or 4 per members. If somebody really wants to go, we just won't publicize it as a drop. But really, it's just about giving everybody access. That's really the goal. And, Afrotech, for instance, is $625 the ticket. We have Afrotech tickets. So it's like $499. You're saving the money on Afrotech and you have access to
other conferences.
Yeah. And these are not just Black conferences this year either. Like we're going after all of them. And yeah, it's, we're excited about some of the partnerships that we're also forming with some other organizations. And I think too, we're going to start, working with schools and nonprofit organizations that, are looking for professional development opportunities. So it's just like, why not just have an all-you-can-eat professional development, opportunities in terms of whatever events nearby. And then whenever we have extra tickets, we just give them away to like the local HBCU, it's like business school or something. Like, hey, we have like 20 tickets. You want to just give them away to students, blast it out, first come, first serve.
Really cool. So I know you also spoke about like members of the big speaker community getting on stages. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a relationship thing. So actually last year, Big Stage Energy's original format was, I just said, hey, if you're a subject matter expert in tech and you're interested in getting on conference stages, podcasts, and monetizing your personal brand, give me a DM. I got like, on my Instagram stories, I got like 70 DMs. So like, oh shit. So ended up bringing on like 40 to 50 clients, and we shoot 3-month retainers. They pay me a flat rate up front. We list out all the conferences they want to go to in 2025. And then I basically just did quick outreach to all the conferences being like, hey, put, Shola on your radar, blah, 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 blah. And we just line them up and get them as many engagements as possible. So that was the original of the Big Stage Energy. And it was really successful. The only reason I went this more community model is because it's less one-on-one a thing. But we have in our school community a section called Speaking Opportunities. So we just post the speaker applications. We have a calendar also that shows you the deadlines for speaker applications. And you do have conference organizers come in and do Google Meets and share the different formats and, what they're looking for. So yeah, that's
something that we do. Are these paid opportunities? Are these unpaid? Like, what are these? I know they probably vary.
Yeah. So the ones that we have are typically like unpaid, but what we do is show you like, or I can or have shown people personally, how to monetize a stage. Because you can monetize just an affiliate. Even our members, if they, sign somebody up with their link, they make, $100 per sign up. Oh. So if you're on stage, you're like, hey, if you want to go to more conferences, use my QR code, blah, blah, blah. 10 people sign up. That's a smooth, 1,000. So it's just like, there's always ways to monetize stages. We didn't want to compete with speaking agencies or PR firms that charge like, $750 a month. We're charging $499.
Opportunity.
Yeah, but we're just making it easier for people to elevate their application or build relationships with conference organizers so that they can, get on more stages.
I think that's really cool because I feel like a lot of people are using their own platforms to create those opportunities, but also would love to have those types of opportunities with bigger stages, right? Bigger audience. Because when you are a podcaster or, you're doing content, like you're creating your audience versus being able to go on a stage and be able to capture a bigger audience, or people that may not have ever seen you or don't have social media will be able to hear your message. And then you could also spread, big stage energy. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and plus you never know who's in the audience. That's why I love about speaking engagements. Yeah. I've had some crazy opportunities where people are just like, hey, I saw you speak on stage and I would have never known. And then if you're in the job market, it's just a real flex to be able to go to the Career Expo and be like, hey, I saw this role about cybersecurity on your career page. I actually just got off stage speaking about cybersecurity. I would love to,
Yeah.
It just cool. Elevates your status. So people that are in the job market, but you have a lot of great logos and a lot of years behind you, you're just kind of in a slump. Try to get speaking engagements, and, communities like mine can make it easier for sure.
It is hard to find those opportunities outside of work, right? Like outside of, talking at work or being at a conference or something like that is in relation to your job versus when you're building your own personal speaking brand, right? So I think that's really cool that you even have those, whether they're paid or unpaid. And of course, like the goal is always to go towards monetization for your voice, but even just to know where to apply or when people drop applications and, just to even be in the ecosystem is definitely like cool.
Sign up for big stage energy.
I know. I'm like, he's selling me this right now. I don't know. I might be on the list. I might be on the list.
Honestly, man, I'll have you on stage so much. Your voice will be sore.
Listen, I love to yap, so don't threaten me with a good time. A lot of the stuff that you've been talking about is like about community. It's about being in the right rooms. It's about networking. What really changes when you're in the right room? Or what changed for you once you started getting in the right rooms?
Getting in the right rooms will save you time. Like it would have taken you, I don't know, 6 months to get. So say you're fundraising for your startup. If you're not getting to the person that basically runs the fund, you're having to get through all kinds of gatekeepers, and they're making you do all kinds of jumping through hoops and
you gotta prove yourself,
all that stuff, right? If you're in the right room, you go straight to the person that runs the fund. You just save yourself 6 months of all the things to get to them, and then by the time you get to them, they just invested in another startup because they met them at the golf course. So, you know what I'm saying? So proximity saves time because you get in front of people that can actually get the decision done. And it's just about preparation. Meeting opportunity is what you call luck. So if you're prepared and you are in the right rooms, then you're constantly going to get opportunities and you're going to get super lucky.
Okay, so when we talk about the right rooms, right, because we also are talking about networking, are we paying to get in these rooms? Like, are we just like what we doing? How we getting the access? What that look like?
Yeah. You sign up for big stage.
We're going to make this a commercial. This is a commercial.
You sign up for big stage. We make all your dreams come true.
Okay, y'all know what to do now. Y'all.
No, but in terms of getting to the rooms.
Okay, so free networking versus paid networking. And when I say that, we live in Houston. So, every single day, every week in Houston, there is a networking event. Would you recommend somebody go to an event that's free or an event that's paid? And even when I think about this too, let's think of it in the context of Afrotech, because everybody's going to Afrotech, right? The free events, who you meet there versus maybe the events that you meet, the people you meet at the events that are paid, or if you get an executive badge versus a general admission badge.
Yeah, so I like rooms that are curated based off of like lists.
Okay.
So that's where the sauce is, where it's like a vetted list where if you ain't popping,
only.
And I like to be the person that barely got in, because then everybody
is okay.
I like to be the dumbest person in the room and the poorest if possible. How you get into those rooms, I think it's just more so about just like build a relationship. So for me, I've been lucky enough to get in a lot of group chats with publicists.
Wow.
Yeah. And so and this is like kind of some advanced stuff, but like when it comes to like the exclusive spaces in Martha's Vineyard and Congressional Black Caucus and Art Basel and South by, one, it's going to be like your LinkedIn, your Instagram, et cetera. It needs to show that you're a thought leader. It needs to show that you're bringing some sort of different value. If it's not Instagram, then LinkedIn at least.
Okay.
Have that show that you are, certified.
Should people still be posting on LinkedIn?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, LinkedIn's algorithm is so much better than Instagram.
Okay.
The hashtags actually push you towards those hashtags. So if you're saying not hiring, you got some, you know what I mean? So absolutely, LinkedIn is still worth posting on. Now, when it comes to applying for roles, I wouldn't get your hopes up in terms of that. I would more so figure out a way to triangulate in person or through somebody introducing you to get past the hundreds of people that are applying for a role.
Yeah, I know when I was applying, spoke with one of my former coworkers, and he was telling me, I was just like, oh man, I'm on the grind. I've been applying all these jobs. Like, I'm getting all these rejections. He was like, we had a job and there were 700 applications for one job. And he was like, and 45 of the people were like SVPs and senior leaders. And this was just like a senior position. But there were so many people willing to step down to go to this role versus like even search for other roles. It was crazy. So like you're saying, if you're just applying to jobs on LinkedIn, your chances are slim right now.
But here's a hack in terms of how to find out about exclusive events and start getting into them. The thing that I like to do is if I'm lucky enough to get access, like I reach out to somebody that I know is in all the events. I'm like, what events are happening this week? They send me like 10 exclusive events. You got to go on Partiful or Posh or whatever. Your reservation's pending and, that whole game. But you take those 10 and you find 10 people that always know what's up and you send it to them immediately. Hey, I'm sure you already have all of this, but here's some events that you should check out. Hopefully this is helpful. Now you're plugging the plugs. So you're proactively plugging the plugs. You're not asking them for anything. You're sending them information. If you had 10 events, hopefully 3 or 4 of them they didn't know about. And then what they're going to do is be like, okay, cool. Here's some other events that are happening during Essence Festival or that's happened during Miami Grand Prix or it's happened during Art Basel that you might want to know about.
I know you double tell it.
Yeah, like basically once you start getting in with people that know everything, they start sending you things and then you send those to other people and they start, you know what I mean? And now you're creating yourself as somebody that's valuable because you're in the know of exclusive spots and it just grows the proactiveness of people sending you things like, hey, Meta is having this, event where it's going to be open bar and all these hors d'oeuvres and freaking J Balvin's performing. Like that's the type of environments. And actually Black Professional Network and Big Stage Energy, we're doing a collaboration. We're focusing just on those like South by Southwest, Essence Festival, Art Basel, Martha's Vineyard, Congressional Black Caucus, Invest Fest, Miami Grand Prix, like all those major events that are not just tech, but they're more so just culture or just vibes. We're going to have a whole community focused on plugging people into those super exclusive things. So all the spreadsheets and stuff that I get, I'm going to bring them to that community and also host mixers around that as well. But like those are the spaces where you'll meet like the chief marketing officer of Vans or the chief people officer of Fanatics. They can literally get you any opportunity or in any room or whatever. And I go up to them like, hey, what are you passionate about? How can I support, whatever that is? And they're now like asking me that same question. And then I'm sending them events and they're like, oh, well, I got all the events too.
That's cool.
And just lead with value.
I think that's really cool because I feel like a lot of people get intimidated when those conversations come up or when they meet people that are CMO, CFO, CISO, right? And leading with the passion, even when we were just like, when you just said it to me, it made me think of like what my passions are. And a lot of people have passions outside of work, right? Because I talk to people all the time and I'm like, I do content and they like, oh, they're instantly interested in me. Or if I ask them, like, what are you passionate about or what do you do? I can start to connect with them on a different level versus like our jobs, right? Our roles, or talking about a resume or having the same conversation that they're going to have with everyone else in the room. So I'm taking the what are you passionate about question. I'm taking that one.
Man, I'm giving that out for free.
The Big Stage Energy ain't free, but that's just a preview. That's just a preview. Of what you...
The ROI, actually, we pay you with the value.
Really.
Like, for real. But it's just about people understanding relationships are greater than money. If you realize that, then you're going to want to proactively be in spaces where everybody has the same interest as you.
Well, it's an investment. So I think that's another thing that I wanted to ask you about, like, how important is it for someone to invest in something like Big Stage Energy or in these different conferences to get in certain spaces and certain rooms and certain environments?
Super crucial. Access to information, access to resources, and access to people that can either mentor you, hire you, collaborate with you. But ultimately, like, you want to be with people that are moving the needle forward and the things that you want to move the needle forward on. And it's collaboration over competition. So ultimately, like, investing in yourself is super important. Reading is super important. Like, always, like, and invest in just trying out new tools for new things and trying to break it and create new things. Like, the next 4 to 5 years, without getting like doom and gloomy, technology is going to advance so quickly that the digital divide, the economic divide is going to just like chasm so fast. And what Elon Musk is doing, Optimus, etc. It is so important to have relationships. It's so important to have community, because once technology gets to a place where there's going to be a population that literally has no place to work. And I think Elon Musk talks about a universal basic income, So
what should people be investing in, or where should they be focusing to prepare for the future or to position themselves well in this new emerging market?
Well, I think you should be going to the conferences that are talking about robotics, AI, and quantum computing.
I've been hearing so much about quantum computing.
Yeah, it's basically like AI on steroids. It's kind of like, there's the Atari and then there's like the PlayStation 5. Like, AI is the Atari, quantum computing is the PlayStation 5. It's just like AI in a much more powerful form. And it's going to be the future. Investing in quantum computing technology, investing in the, supporting things like water, electricity. But yeah, I mean, that's a whole podcast in itself. But ultimately, though, I would say the AI, go to ChatGPT and, well, first off, we have a website, securethebadge.com. It lists all the different conferences that we work with. So even if you don't do Big Stage Energy, you at least know like what conferences are going to be in what cities, etc. Ultimately, though, like, there's a lot of free education online. NVIDIA has an AI course, etc. But just get really nerdy on AI. Ask AI what is the newest AI. Ask AI how to use AI. Because, I used to do like consultations on tech sales. Now I just tell people, like, here are the prompts to put in ChatGPT.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, and that's where we're going, man. So.
Do you still work in tech sales? This is just like a question I have.
I was a VP of sales for an AI startup. And I left around July of last year.
Okay. So full-time entrepreneur.
Also, lead strategic partnerships for a startup called Culture Wireless. And I'm also, fundraising with them. So doing a couple of different things. Big Stage Energy is the thing that I'm just like, ultimately, because of Clubhouse and then speaking engagements and Instagram, my DMs are always filled with like, how do I get a job in tech? How can I get funding? Or how can I get on stage as a podcast? So Big Stage Energy is just a way for me to provide that value in a very efficient way. And, honestly, it also helps me like not have to figure out my response. My response is enjoy Big Stage Energy and I got you.
Right.
And, I'm an under promise, over deliver type of person. So that's another thing that I won't go diatribe about, but just like, if you get in the habit of under promising and over delivering to everybody and everything that you do, people will trust you. People will have a positive experience about you. People will like you. That's all it's about. Your reputation is everything. So don't be a finesser. Don't say things you can't do. And honestly, for me, I don't even tell people what I'm going to do. I just do it and I tell you I did it. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you had like a big stage energy, I wouldn't tell you like, I'm going to sign up. I'll just be like, hey, I just signed up. Like, it's just the little things that make you stand out. If like somebody says, well, I have a podcast about kittens because it's my passion. And I'm like, oh, the chief revenue officer. Okay, cool. What's the name of the podcast? Search for it. Cool. I just subscribed.
That means a lot.
You know, boom, just subscribed. And you know what? I just forwarded to my group chat, told them I just met you, subscribe, told them to check it out. Like, you immediately get separated from everybody else because you are about follow through immediately. And so for me, it's just like, if I think I can get you, say, you know, I'm a consulting for your podcast and I'm like, hey, I can get you 1,000 subscribers, real subscribers that really rock with you in like a week, right?
Can you do that?
No,
I'm
can't.
trolling.
And then boom, a week goes by and I get you 1,500.
Yeah.
You're like,
I'm gonna be so happy.
right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or I could have said I got you 2,000 and then a week goes by, I get you 1,500,
Yeah.
same amount, and you're not happy. So just under promise and over deliver. Know what you can do, promise less, overachieve, and people will trust you because you consistently come through. And do that inside a tech company and talk about how you do that just in general. That was an interview technique that I would say.
So I have some quick,
Forever.
fun questions for you, right? So this or that, or just like rapid fire.
Cool.
So networking or applying?
Networking.
One skill for 2030.
AI.
AI.
I mean, it's a cliche, but
One mistake that you made that you learned from today?
just over, I would say, people pleasing.
People pleasing. Okay, people pleasing. That's a good one. That's why you started to do the under instead of the over.
Yeah. And then also, like, I had to create big stage energy so that I can stop people pleasing for free all the time.
Yeah.
And at least have some sort of buffer where I can identify who's going to pay for my value and who won't. But if you pay for me, I will make you so much more money.
Okay.
But that's
Best investment you've made?
best investment in self-awareness mindset coaching.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Big stage energy in one sentence.
Access.
All right. So if you take anything from this, the way we've taught you about building careers is changing. If you rely on your old strategies, you probably are not going to make it in this market. You might feel stuck, but the people who build relationships that stay visible and adapt, those are the ones who create opportunities. So if this resonated with you, share it, and I'll see you in the next coffee chat.
Like, comment. Yeah.
Yes.